G'day guys, Mac here with the Outer Circle, and today we're looking at the Word Bearers. The Word Bearers are a pretty strong legion. They used to have psychic powers that just shit on everyone, but since the Thousand Suns have come along, they've sort of lost that little niche. Because everything they do, basically, the Thousand Suns do better, except for demonology. That said, demonology is sort of it's one of those disciplines that can bite you on the bum. So it's not really a big loss for the Thousand Suns. Anyway, Word Bearers, what do you need to know? First of all, some of the best morale in the game. They have a rule called the True Believers, where they get to roll 3d6 for their morale checks. Now, this doesn't include pinning and fear, don't know why, but is what it is. And you pick the lowest 2 dice. Pretty handy. Generally you'll pass your leadership unless you're suffering some sort of negative modifiers, such as losing close combat by severe numbers. Another rule, you have a rule called Cut 'em Down. You must always make a sweeping advance, and you must re-roll sweeping advance rolls of a 1. Very handy. Very handy. It gives you a chance to catch units that might normally get away. Doesn't really hurt you either, because 30k, very few units, pretty much no units off the top of my head will run away and when caught won't get cut down, so it's just worth it. Strange rule, charismatic leadership. All word bearer forces have to take a second compulsory HQ choice, and it must either be a chaplain or a stock centurion. That means you can't upgrade it to a champion, librarian, master of the forge, any of those. So that does hurt. You can sort of skirt it a little bit. Certain characters such as Erebus have both the sort of like Master of the Legion and counts as a chaplain, so it can take up those 2 slots all at once. Kind of handy. But yeah, you want generally like a Praetor and a chaplain as your 2 sort of HQ compulsories, and then the third one is up to you. Librarian, Diabolist, that kind of thing is usually a good sort of choice to go in there. Other choices such as the Master of the Forge, the Primus Medicae, don't work as well in Word Bearers as they would in other forces, and I'll get to that later. Now for unique war gear, you have the Burning Law, which is an upgrade that gives your Praetor, Diabolist, Centurion or Chaplain Mastery Level 1 Psycho Rule, and you get access to Biomancy, Malefic Demonology, and of course Force. Now this is an interesting one because the Demonology, again, you do not want to take it on your Praetor, Centurion or Chaplain. It's too dangerous. You need to roll that. Any doubles you roll is the Perils of the War. But on your Diabolist, he has the Demon special rule. So you don't have to worry about, that Perils. It's very unlikely that you'll get the Perils. Like a 1 in 36 chance as opposed to like a 1 in 6 chance. So, major deal there. Now, you also have another piece of unique war gear called a Tainted Weapon. It's a specialist close combat weapon, and you get instant death on it. Sounds good on the surface, but in reality, everything has pretty good armor saves. 3+ or better is sort of the average in 30k. And the stuff that's got 4+ saves in like the Mechanicum is generally like toughness 5, 6, 7. Yeah, it's there are some models that the Tainted Weapon works quite well on, but it's not one I'd go everywhere with. Good alternate weapon for a Praetor, because combined with the Paragon Blade, which is also a specialist weapon, you give the Paragon Blade the +1 attack, and you've always got it up your sleeve if you just want to give it a whirl, oh yeah, I'll throw 5 auto kill attacks at you, see what happens. So, yeah, could work. You have a relic called the Conversion Dissonator, once per game for 1 turn only. Every model within 12 inches of the person who has the relic suffers -2 to their invul saves. Yeah, It's not the sort of relic that you can go putting on a character and then charging into Terminators or something and killing them all. best way to probably use it would be to just have a suicide bomber. A character who you deep strike in, or has a jump pack or a bike or something like that, running this relic, and he just drives into the middle of the enemy's Terminators, sets it off, and then your army just fires all the AP2 you've got at that squad and just wipes out everything in the sort of 2-foot square radius. Yeah, that's about the only way I think you could play it. But hey, it's a campaign-only relic. You're never going to use the thing anyway, right? You have 2 Rites of War, of course. One of them is really good anti-Psyker Rite of War, really strong against the Thousand Suns, but shit-ass against anyone else. So, moving on to special characters and units. You have a special type of consul. This is called the Diabolist. So this is an upgrade you can give to your Centurions, much in the same way that Alpha Legion can have Saboteurs, or other legions take like their Forge Lords, that kind of thing. Basically, you turn your console into someone who has the Demon Rule and preferred enemy loyalists. Unfortunately, this only affects their melee attacks, which is a bit of a shame because it would be really strong attached to like Plasma Bikes or Plasma Squad, that kind of thing, but yeah, doesn't work, I'm afraid. Gets the Dark Channeling option, of course. You will take it. It's good to have on him, and you can run Malefic Demonology on him. So, pretty handy. Only downside is, I don't know that it's points efficient as a HQ, but it's very fluffy, so it is something I'll suggest down the line. Now, the Dark Channeling, as an interesting thing, is now an upgrade that you can give to your Tactical, Breacher, Assault, Veteran, Terminator, that kind of thing. You roll a d6 for each unit you want to grant the bonus to at the beginning of each game. On a 1 to 3, your unit gets Zealot. On a 4 to 5, you gain +1 strength for the duration of the battle. And on a 6, you gain the Demon Special Rule. And you no longer count as scoring if you do so. Unit counts as destroyed at the end of the game, when you've got to calculate victory points, all that sort of thing. It's not bad. Pretty strong if you put it on something like Automata, like Praevian Consul. Maybe if you put it on close combat units, Terminators, that kind of thing. Yeah, could be worth it. It's a neat little rule, but it's not a game changer. Now you get 3 specialist units: the Ashen Circle, the Gaol Vorback, and the Marigal Tainted Dreadnought. The Ashen Circle are sort of like destroyers, but they prefer fire over phosphex. They have an interesting sort of close combat weapon called the Power Rake. It's weird. +1 strength, AP 6, never gonna do anything. -1 to enemies fallback distance. 5 points to upgrade to a Power Axe, just upgrade to a Power Axe. They get Hammer of Wrath at strength 5. It counts the Flamer type attack when they do so, and if the unit deep strikes, all models within d6 inches take a strength 3 AP 5 hit from their Flamers, which is kind of cool. The squad leader can take Phosphex bombs, and I think an Inferno pistol, possibly a Plasma pistol, for additional, shenanigans. That said, pretty expensive unit for what you get, and your rules are not really geared towards making the unit better. This sort of unit in like a Raven Guard or a Salamander's army would be god tier, but yeah, not that great in the Word Bearers. The Gaol Vorback, now this is the one everyone loves. Possessed Marines that are actually good. 2 wounds, 3 on the Sergeant, Weapon Skill 5, Strength 5, Toughness 5, Initiative 5, many attacks. They actually have war gear, bolt pistols and bolters, funny enough. You've got grenades. Interesting thing is they're all demons. Now, here's where it comes in, the whole Primus Medicaes, all that kind of thing aren't really good for the Word Bearers. Well, can't attach them to demon units because they don't have the rule themselves. So, same thing with Forge Lords. Units that would go really well with them would be Primus Medicaes, Forge Lords to give them rag grenades, that sort of thing, but you can't do it. You can't join them to the unit. So unfortunately, Gaol Fallback, pretty much the only thing that's going to join them in a game is going to be a Diabolist. They're good. They have rending. You can give everyone, say, power mauls or a power weapon. I would give them all power mauls most of the time because you're going to go up to about strength 7, AP 4, and rending. So that's solid. You're hitting like an assault cannon, if not stronger, in close combat. And the specialist weapon idea from earlier, the Tainted Weapon, really good on the squad sergeant for the Gaol Fallback. You're looking at like, what, 1, 2, 3 attacks base, with rage on the charge, 5 attacks on the charge, with instant death, strength 5, rending. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So, that's a fair chance of actually killing someone, which you won't get if you run on any of your other characters. Lastly, the Marek Gaol Tainted Dreadnought. It's shit. It's something that came out and everyone saw it and was like, damn, this thing is brutal. And then it got a hard rules nerf, points increase that works. Basically, you've got a Contemptor with a demon special rule that makes other demons near it weaker, and you're paying the price pretty much 2 Contemptor Mortis Dreadnoughts. It's only like 5 or 6 points cheaper than 2 Contempted Mortis Dreadnoughts. No, just don't take it. It's super fluffy, don't get me wrong. Looks awesome. Not great at all. Not a very good unit. By all means, use the model as like your regular Contemptor, that kind of thing. But Marek Gaol does not mesh well with your army. It just has negatives and downsides and affects the units around it. It has an aura. It's weird. All flame, Volkite, fusion, plasma, melter, whatever, but fired at it, -1 strength. Anything it assaults below toughness 7 or armor 13, -1 to hit it. Sounds great in theory, but again, it has negative modifiers. Fucks with demons. Demons are a big problem since your army is full of them because you're word bearers. And funny thing about the word bearers, can take demons as allies. So we'll talk more about that later. But anyway, at this point, let's look at some miniatures. Erebus and Corferon. Now, Zardu, Layak and the Blade Slaves are another option for Forge World characters, but a little bit more specialist, a little bit more expensive. Well, actually, it's £3 cheaper. I lie. Erebus and Corferon, though, you have a Terminator Armoured Praetor here, and you have a Chaplain / Praetor / whatever you want Erebus to be. And as a special character, he's pretty good because he ticks the Chaplain box and the Master of the Legion or Warlord box straight off the bat, which is really handy. It stops you having to take that additional console option in order to play the Word Bearers. Very handy little thing. And of course, yeah, you get the 2 models. They look great. You know, you get this lovely 360 view on Forge World. Interesting thing about Corferon is he was a late inductee into the Astartes. He's actually just a mortal man. And you can see he's wearing normal power armor underneath the Terminator armor. Because he's not really a Space Marine. And he's actually weaker because of it. But he looks cool. But yeah, Erebus, very good unit. Now, I'm going to suggest a couple of Games Workshop units for this army. First, the Dark Apostle makes an excellent chaplain for the Word Bearers. And if you look at this guy and you look at Erebus, they're actually not too dissimilar. The main reason for this is, of course, that the sculptor Edgar Skoromowski, when he first sculpted Erebus, used the 40k Dark Apostle as sort of inspiration for it. So he has sort of these same sort of runes and scripts hanging off him. The only change you'd probably make to the 40k Dark Apostle miniature is to maybe change the backpack out for something a little bit less chaosy. Just a regular Mark IV backpack would look great on him. But yeah, if I was running Word Bearers, this would be my chaplain model. And I think it's a cool looking model. I'd also use the 40k plastic aspiring champion that originally came in the Dark Vengeance box. This guy is available for individual purchase, and he makes a good Diabolist. You could of course run him as a Praetor or another HQ option, but it looks like he has a Tainted Weapon and a Power Axe. Or a Paragon Blade, whatever you like it to be. So this right here with the bits of fleshy stuff morphing out of him, it looks right for a Demon Tainted model, especially when we look at the Gaol Vorback later on. Now, speaking of the Gaol Vorback, here they are in the flesh. Gaol Vorback, Ashen Circle, and a Contempted Dreadnought, all in a bundle. The Legion Support Cadre bundle for the Word Bearers. Well worth it. You get the Ashen Circle, which are not the greatest, but they're still a solid unit. The Contemptor, always take a Contemptor. Yes, take it with the Twin Assault Cannons. This is your anti-air right here. On top of that, the Gaol Vorback themselves, very strong unit. You can join them together with the Diabolist and, wreck some face. There's also the Word Bearers Task Force. This will of course provide you with a squad of Cataphractii Terminators and all the infantry you need for your army. 3 10-man squads of Space Marines. In that you also get some upgraded chests and some upgraded helmets, both of which are really good and they're designed for the Mark IV armour. Personally, I'd probably save them for more the sergeants and the characters, but completely up to you. You can of course just buy the box from Games Workshop or from your local games dealer and buy it on its own without all the upgrades for a lot cheaper. Perfectly fine. The Word Bearers do have an excellent Legion transfer sheet, and this is one of those sheets that, the Betrayal at Kelth box will already come with Word Bearers decals, so combine that with this sheet and you'll easily kit out a whole army. Plenty of decals, all these scripts you can put on your vehicles and on Rhino doors and make banners up, and it looks great. Speaking of putting things on vehicles, Sikaran Punisher Assault Tank. This is a pretty cool unit, something I haven't really used before in the Getting Started series, but this thing pumps out a ridiculous amount of shots, especially if it sits still. Give this thing 3 heavy bolters and the Punisher Assault Cannon on top, and sit still. You'll be firing 9 heavy bolter shots and firing the Punisher Assault Cannon twice. This is a ridiculous amount of anti-infantry firepower, and it will mess up militia armies. It will absolutely just annihilate tech thralls and that kind of thing from the Mechanicum. Solar Auxiliary will have a hard time with it, and even Marine squads can have a hard time with the sheer amount of firepower this thing puts out. And lastly, backing it up, a Sikaran Venator, which of course will have the awesome Neutron Laser, which is a very good vehicle killer. Nothing too crazy with this force. So, to reiterate, Erebus and Corpheron, a Games Workshop Dark Apostle, a Aspiring Champion miniature as a Diabolist, the Word Bearers Legion Support Cadre, which gives you all your specialist units, a Word Bearers Task Force or Betrayal at Kelth box, possibly some upgrades, and of course the decal sheets for the Word Bearers, the Sikaran Punisher Assault Tank, and the Sikaran Venator. Now, I mentioned earlier that you can also take demons as part of a Word Bearer's army. The rules for these are in the Horus Heresy main rulebook, and they will get very specific rules come Angelus, the next Forge World Black Book. But for now, you can use that Horus Heresy rulebook rules for them. Of course, if you go to Games Workshop, there are numerous bundles of demons and getting started bundles for demons and Zench bundles and Nurgle bundles and Slaneshi bundles and all kinds of bundles. And of course, you got your greater demons and that kind of thing. Where the Slaneshi greater demon is, no one knows. It hasn't been heard from in a long time. Something to do with they don't like the kids to see them. Instead, you just get this old 90s model, which is now in Failcast. But yeah, Chaos Demons, very good allies to have in your Word Bearers, especially because you've got characters like the Diabolist that are demons and can work with them, and yeah, can make some interesting combinations. In fact, pretty early on, the Heresy Word Bearers are one of the most brutal factions because there's like Grimoire of True Names, for example, being put onto Gaol Vorback, and yeah, terrifying stuff. Anyway, that's it for me. That's it for the Word Bearers. Nice, simple force, this one. Very little to worry about because Word Bearer is one of those legions where their special rules, they don't force you to play with any particular unit. You know, anything and everything is perfectly fine to use with them. Their rules aren't about buffing units up and making weapons stronger. Their rules are about having really good morale and that kind of thing. Where the Word Bearers truly do get buffed and come into their own is if you include a Lorgar in the force, their Primarch. The Lorgar buffs to the Legion. The only Primarch who can come close to buffing his Legion as much would be Rogaldorn. But yeah, your morale becomes pretty much unbreakable. It's ridiculous, but we'll cover Primarchs down the line. For now, I've got to do episodes on the Salamanders, on the Raven Guard and the Alpha Legion, and then as soon as I've done that, we'll be looking at the Shattered Legions, followed by Mechanicum. So once we've done Mechanicum, we'll then be looking at the Solar Auxilia, Imperialis Militia, Imperial Knights, and finally the Talons of the Emperor. And that'll be it for the Getting Started series. From there, we'll sort of come back and explore other things like the Rites of War, different combinations, different styles of play, more advanced stuff on the Heresy. Anyway, I'm back with the Outer Circle. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I'll see you all next time.